Hello. In these sessions I've been considering how and why objects end up buried in the ground. Now, one of our options is that they were put there for safekeeping. Of course, there are no banks or insurance companies in the past, and a lot of the so-called curse tablets that are found at Roman temple sites are concerned with the theft of valuables. Around 130 of these have been found at Bath, and they're inscribed on either lead or pewter sheets that have then been rolled up, and they were thrown into the spring that was believed to be where the spirit of Minerva resided. And they're usually asking for justice or for some ill fate to fall upon the perpetrators of the crime. And there's one particular one I like that says, "Whoever took my bronze jug, may it be filled with their blood." Now, I'm going to read you an extract from Samuel Pepys' diary. It's June 1667, and it's Pepys reacting to a Dutch raid. And a Dutch fleet had captured Sheerness, sailed along the Thames as far as Gravesend, then sailed along the Medway to Chatham and the Royal Naval Dockyards. And they had bombarded the town, towed away some of the fleet, including the flagship, the Royal Charles, set fire to other ships, and it had caused a good deal of panic. And this is what Samuel Pepys wrote in his diary. "And the truth is, I do fear so much that the whole kingdom is undone, that I do resolve to study with my father and wife what to do with the little that I have in money by me." And the next day, after he's discussed this with his father and his wife, he's decided he's going to send the pair of them to his country house at Brampton in Northamptonshire to hide his money. "I presently resolved of my father and wife going into the country, and at 2 hours warning they did go by coach this day, and with about £1,300 in gold in their night bag. Pray God give them good passage and good care to hide it, but my heart is full of fear." Of course, Pepys was quite close to the action as Secretary of State to the Navy Board. Now, a week later, this is the entry in his diary. "I and my wife to talk, who did give me so bad an account of her and my father's method in burying our gold that made me mad, and she herself is not pleased with it, she believing that my sister knows of it. My father and she did it on Sunday, when the rest of the family were gone to church, in open daylight in the midst of the garden, where for aught they knew many eyes might see them, which put me in much trouble, and I presently cast about how to have it back again to secure it here, the times being a little better now. At least at Whitehall they seem as if they were. One way or another, I am resolved to free them from the place if I can get them. Such is my trouble at this, that I fell out with my wife, that though new come to town, I did not sup with her nor speak to her tonight, but to bed and sleep." So poor Samuel Pepys, racing off to Northamptonshire to try and rescue his little hoard of money, which he did get back, but it took him a while to find it, and he was working at night so as not to be seen, which I think probably caused more attention than not. But 17th century, but burial for safekeeping will have gone a long time before we find the objects. Unfortunately, we don't get a written account with them. And Pepys' reason for burying his money, that it was a time of perceived crisis, is clearly likely to be a motivation in many other instances. So, for example, if we find coins dated to around 60 AD buried in East Anglia, then it's quite reasonable to suppose that might be associated with the Boudiccan revolt. Over 200 coin hoards have been discovered from the period of the English Civil War, so 1642 to 1651. A large hoard was found at Tregwynt Manor near Fishguard in Pembrokeshire, and it's now in the National Museum of Wales in Cardiff. It was discovered by chance. A new tennis court was being constructed, and a local metal detectorist was asked to come along and scan the spoil, and he came up with 33 gold coins, 467 silver coins and an inscribed gold ring. The inscription read, "Better death than faults of faith." The latest coin was dated 1648. Face value at the time, £51 9 shillings. Difficult to say what that would be in today's terms. At the time it would have paid for 50 foot soldiers for a month. We're talking nowadays it would be 5 figures. Among the coins were some from temporary emergency mints that had been set up to help fund the war, and one of these was at Shrewsbury, and some of the coins have some interesting inscriptions, almost propaganda. There is one in which, in abbreviated Latin, Charles I claims that his aim is to maintain the Protestant religion, maintain the laws of England and the liberty of Parliament. Now, we assume perhaps this money belonged to the owner of Tregwynt at the time. This is a man called Llewellyn Harris, but he lived until 1663. So you would think perhaps he would have retrieved his money. Perhaps he'd forgotten where it was. But another option is perhaps one of his children. We know he'd got at least 9, probably more. And maybe if one of the sons was going off to fight for one side or the other, they perhaps might have buried their nest egg and never come back to collect it. Now, the Grouville hoard was discovered by 2 metal detectorists in 2012 in the parish of Grouville. It's on the east side of Jersey in the Channel Islands. And this pair began metal detecting in the early 1980s. And what had started them on the hobby was a rumour that was around at the time that a farmer grubbing out a hedge had found some silver coins. He'd given the coins to his daughter and she had swapped the coins for some comics. But the location had been lost. It was just the rumour that was around. And the current owner of the farm would only allow the detectorist to operate on a couple of days each year after he'd lifted his potato harvest. It took them best part of 30 years. They eventually found a few coins, 60 or so coins, and that led them to the rest. And what they found was a huge mass of Iron Age and Roman coins that were embedded in clay. They notified Jersey Heritage, and the archaeologists removed the hoard en bloc. It weighed 3/4 of a ton, and it was taken to the Jersey Archive for cleaning and for conservation. As they painstakingly unpicked the clay mass, as well as coins, they found 11 gold torques and other items of jewellery, and also fragments of organic material, leather and textiles, which had been used perhaps to wrap some of the items in. Altogether, they recovered over 70,000 coins. It's the world's largest ever Celtic coin hoard. Now, mainly they were attributed to the Coriosoliti tribe from Brittany, but there were coins from other Gaulish tribes and also some from southern Britain. And the dates were around 40 BC. So these coins date to around the time of Caesar's conquest of Gaul. When the find spot was excavated, there was evidence of timber posts and quantities of burnt daub, so it looked as though there had been a hut on the site. There was also some slag and some furnace lining. That, together with the fact that some of the coins had been cut in half, suggests that they were being melted down. An exhibition opened at the Hoogby Museum in Jersey of the hoard in March 2019. Now, why was this hoard buried? Most likely to protect the wealth of the Gaulish tribes from the Roman legions in this turbulent period of Caesar's conquest. and choosing Jersey and Ireland would have offered that little bit of extra security. Now, when we find items very carefully packaged, buried in the ground, then that's a good indication that they were there for safekeeping and whoever buried them was going to come and retrieve them. And that's the case with what I'm going to look at next time, which includes the largest hoard of late Roman silver and gold ever discovered in Britain. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click the notification bell to be informed when the next video is published.